All right, looks like we are good to go. Bear with me one last second while I check the stream. Excellent. Okay, we are live. Welcome everybody to this third session on week 0 of ETHOnline. If you haven't noticed, we've got quite a packed week. I know a bunch of people are already showing up to multiple sessions, which is great to see. So without further ado, we can get this started. This is the brainstorm session. So what are we going to do here? We're going to talk about what you can build, what general ideas to structure your hack around, how to integrate sponsors, anything and everything. We're going to try to touch on it all. So hopefully you're here to think about some crazy ideas, because that's kind of what this session is going to be about. I will stop talking and intro our panelists who are going to be sort of guiding the discussion. First up, we've got Mariano Conti. Many of you probably recognize him. NenX Cool. He was formerly head of Oracles at Maker and now is an independent dev working on a whole bunch of different things in the space. Welcome, Mariano. Then we have Andy.
Hey, thank you.
Sorry. You want to say anything about the intro?
No. Really happy to be here.
Awesome. We're glad to have you too. We've got Andy, who is an engineer at Maker as well, or not Mariano is he's not at Maker anymore, but Andy, you want to say a few words? Used to be, yeah.
Hey guys, excited to be here.
Then we've got the GoStep, Stefan Gosselin. He's working on a project called onboard.money, and we're hopefully going to get a workshop later in the hackathon from him. But today he's going to be giving us some feedback to ideas and helping us brainstorm.
Hey everyone.
And then last but not least, Adrian is also an engineer at Maker. And we're very happy to have all 4 of you on here. I know I couldn't carry this session on my own. So without further ado, why don't we get started? I'm going to relink the Buterin Level Ideas doc, which is sort of a running document we've been using this year to just collect DeFi ideas, collect hackathon ideas. So I will relink it in the chat. And why don't we start off with just some general ideas from any of the people that have been invited to guide the session. What do you think is interesting? What have you been riffing on lately? Let's start with some high level stuff here. Go ahead, Mariano, or whoever wants to.
Yeah, I can start real quick. Of course, lately there's been 2 things on my mind. One is DeFi, the other is NFTs. The third one is the combination of the 2, which until a while ago, it wasn't really that clear, right? And so I think we're at a point where we got past much of the food coins and are entering a new era that I think is going to be the most fulfilling. Of course, I read a lot of things about NFTs that say, "Hey, I just copy pasted your NFT. Now I own it." Hopefully nobody here thinks that, right? The idea behind art is that it is unique and it is traceable to an owner, and what better way than with a ledger, right? So I know it sounds trite saying DeFi and now NFTs because it's what's in, but I expect a lot of projects to end up with a combination of these 2.
Yeah, for sure. First one that comes to mind is, what is it called? Aavegotchi, something like that. I think it's building that exact intersection of NFTs and DeFi. Maybe somebody else knows a little bit more about it.
Yeah, NFT is a really interesting space. I would actually link to this Nifty Inc. site from Austin Griffin, who started building some better user experience around NFTs, given the high gas costs. Probably like an interesting inspiration as well.
Oh, right, because Nifty is built on top of XDAI, which is the other thing that I forgot is like guiding the conversation right now, which is scalability, right? So layer twos, anything that moves transactions out of the main chain and into a side chain or a bridge or a roll up or whatever you want to call it. That is also something that's been on everybody's mind. And Trent, you can probably say there's likely a sponsor that is an L2, probably more than one, and they for sure maybe have extra prices for somebody.
Yeah, we have Matic. Matic is one of the sponsors, and it's definitely, if you've been using mainnet at all this summer, you know that layer 2 solutions can't come soon enough. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on top of NFT stuff. Something that I think, or just kind of a general thing to think about that could be pretty cool is, I feel like right now the NFT marketplace space is really basic. You basically have an NFT and say how much it costs, and people can buy it from you. And I think there are a lot of other weird ways that you could sell NFTs, either with blind auctions and Dutch auctions and all these different things that just aren't really well developed marketplace spaces right now. I think that could be something that'd be really interesting to just play around with.
Definitely.
Or the things you can buy these days made of NFTs. You have the Unisocks, you have the Fame t-shirts. So that's a whole new fashion space, I guess you can say.
Yep.
Pretty interesting.
One thing I forgot to mention at the start of the call is if there are any hackers who actually they have an idea and they want to get, some initial feedback before everything kicks off, this is a perfect opportunity to bring it up to some people who are deep into this exact sort of stuff. So if you are interested in sharing your idea or getting some feedback, raise your hand in Zoom or just write your message and I'll unmute you. This would definitely be a really great time to do that.
One sponsor that is,
go ahead.
Sorry. One sponsor that I see, which is pretty interesting as well, is Protocol Labs, and especially Filecoin. It's a bit of a change of topic from NFTs, but we can always get back to that. Seems like Filecoin is coming out soon, and there are a few cool developments happening around that. One that I've been seeing recently, which is pretty interesting, is Slate, which is basically like a replacement for Dropbox. They seem to have an API, which is pretty cool to integrate with. I could see like an interesting Web3 hack done around Filecoin as well. Could be nice.
Yeah, actually, we did a hackathon specifically around Filecoin and Protocol Labs earlier this summer, and Slate was one of the workshops we gave. It was a very cool demonstration of the things that they're building over there. Let's try a different prompt of, if you were going into this hackathon, what sort of things would you be thinking about? It doesn't have to be a specific project, but what sort of projects would you be looking into? How would you be framing your approach into this? So think about like the hackathon experience, even if you haven't done a hackathon yourself. I know the Maker guys I think they just finished an internal hackathon recently. So maybe let's switch gears a bit and talk about how you would approach this yourself personally. Mariano?
I usually have a list of ideas, that 100 different projects that I would do if I could clone myself 100. Well, if I could clone people who are better than me at coding 100 times.
Sure.
And I could put them in my house. Most of them have to do with DeFi, just because because that has been my interest, my main interest. So what I do is I have them organized between stuff that would be, you know, almost a new protocol that would take a lot of time, and then things that are mostly a mix of just calling existing things, which is that is going to be part of my talk on Friday. The fact that you can have 2 lines of Solidity and, you know, get a flash loan or open up a vault or get a loan, or do all sorts of things with just a tiny bit of code, right? So then what I say is, okay, what is available to me? Flash loans are available. Liquidations and this and that protocol are available. Swapping a token for another is available. And then maybe, I don't know, some kind of yield farming, maybe Uniswap right now is available. What can I do quickly that you know, will make me some money or make somebody some money? And then, you know, if it is something that could take maybe a day or two, I try to code something in Solidity. And then if it's something that maybe doesn't even require a UI, I don't even bother. But if it does, I always try to have a designer friend available, because mostly for hackathons, they end up being the people who tie everything together, you know, UI person.
Right.
I think now I'm mostly just giving tips for hackathons, but if we if that's the thing, then let me continue a little bit with this idea. I don't know how many of you, and there's plenty of people, like 65 people. I don't know how many of you are new to hackathons, or if this is going to be your first one. This one is a month long, right? So
Yeah, so it's a little bit shorter than Hack Money and Hackafest. So the entire event, including judging, ends on the 30th. So about a week shorter if you had previously been in Hack Money or Hackafest. It's a little bit shorter than that, but.
Okay, so yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
There's still plenty of time. If you go over the document that Trent linked, the ideas, I think there's a lot of good ones, and actually a good exercise would be to grab 2 different ones and try to mash them together into something new. Because yeah, I look at mine, and they're the ones that are tagged Mariano. They mostly have the same vibe to them. So I would try to match something that I wrote with somebody completely like the opposite of me, or you know, 2 different people from 2 different projects. You grab something from DeFi, something from identity, or something from prediction markets with something from social networks. And yeah, you know, I think you can get a weird new project with that exercise.
So to summarize, I think one of the first things you said was look to projects that already exist. Leverage something like Uniswap. It's a foundational piece for the DeFi ecosystem. Don't try to, you know, reinvent everything. It's 3 weeks is long, but it's really not that long. You want to manage your scope. And I think one of the things that we frequently see with hackathons is the first week is about trimming out scope, because otherwise you end up with something that's too big for you know what you're trying to deliver within this limited time frame. And then, like you said, maybe put 2 different ideas together. It's like combining 2 different flavors, which you may not think that they go together, but actually there's an interesting idea there.
Yeah, those are some of the things that I would do. As far as the first things that you said, I've seen some very ambitious teams trying to come up with a completely new, you know, foundational protocol in a hackathon. Of course, that's almost impossible in a 48-hour one. Maybe maybe it is possible in a 3-week one, but I mentioned leveraging everything that is, just because, you know, as time, as we move on and this ecosystem matures, there is more available to everybody. That's why usually with hackathons, I tend to recommend, although feel free to ignore this if you feel that you can do something entirely new, but just make use of everything that's out there.
Definitely. Carl, you want to go ahead, unmute, and share your pitch, what you want to work on?
Hey guys, I'm Carl. For anyone that doesn't know, I've been in the space for a bit, been going to these hackathons, and it's not NFT related, but it's kind of related to Mariano's idea with that alarm clock with MakerDAO. And I've been thinking about this before, which is having some, incentivized way for miners or third parties to adjust the collateralization ratio if it reaches a certain point. And I've been talking about this with another friend of mine. He's not participating in the hackathon, but essentially what it would be is like a user would transfer their vault to a contract, and the contract could have like a collateralization ratio, and anyone could call the contract to try to trigger it. But so using some kind of oracles to, to base the price on, as well as also with as mainstream, as much of a problem gas prices have been lately, trying to add some dynamics to it where if some third party were to adjust the collateralization ratio, it would take into account gas prices through another oracle to give some sort of automatic profit. That way it's not just hard coded, because that would be kind of bad once gas prices randomly shoot up again. So that's just kind of what I'm looking at. It's, not NFT related, but it's definitely something that could be used in the space. So, yeah.
I kind of want to let Andy take this one, just because I've been talking too much. But I like the idea because it is based on something that I wrote.
Yeah, no, I like that idea too. I think with that, there are definitely some things already in the space that are monitoring people's CDPs or loans in general, and adjusting them for people. So I would say it would be important to consider maybe what you would be doing differently as opposed to like a DeFi saver or something like that, and really make sure you nail that down, because I think there's definitely space to make that whole system more evolved or have some different niche to it. But I would make sure that you're really nailing down what it is that this will be delivering, as opposed to a different type of loan saver app.
So you're thinking, what is the differentiator?
Yeah.
From an existing product? You mentioned DeFi Saver. Are there any other ones? Doesn't InstantApp also have something related to this?
I think they have something.
They have a way of quickly unwinding a position, I believe, but it is not automatic. It is not based on any oracles or any incentives for either a third party to call or the service itself while making a profit. So I think there is still a lot of room for competition in that space.
There's actually one thing built by the Gelato team around, it's called Gelato. I don't totally understand it yet, but it seems to be automation to prevent a maker vault liquidation. And I think it's open source. So this could be actually a great starting point for a novel implementation.
Yeah, because I've looked at Gelato before. I haven't looked at Gelato though. Their documentation is kind of shit, so I've been straying away from it for a little bit. But yeah, that's a good idea. I'll dig more into that one too. Thanks, guys. but so yeah, that's kind of what I want to be exploring, especially exploring something with involving gas to make it still profitable. I have some experience with front end and developing smart contracts. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily very strong in either, but I can, I'm well versed in both. So if anyone in this call is interested, feel free to message me in this chat, or my username is Carl Farderson, just like my name, on Discord, Telegram, whatever, and I'd be happy to start figuring some out. So thanks.
Awesome, Carl. Thanks for sharing.
I just want to say there is a chain link oracle for gas prices as well, and I don't think I've seen it integrated with a lot of projects, but especially for things that try to extract some kind of profit or incentivize users to call functions and then pay them back. Something like their gas oracle is probably a good idea to integrate. And like I said before, it's likely just one line of code to call it, and then a couple of lines in your contract to do whatever kind of logic with the result.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. There's been a couple questions about meta transactions. So recognizing that we have, a pretty wide-ranging audience. There's some intermediate developers. We've got people who are brand new. Does somebody want to give an intro to what meta transactions actually are, what they do, why they're useful, and how people use them in their dApps? Stefan, maybe?
Yeah, sure. I'm a meta transaction maximalist. I think they're required for being able to bring the kind of experience that dApp developers want to bring to their users. I know most of the people in the chat here have had to play around with some version of approve and transfer from whenever interacting with a dApp. And the transactions are the way out of that problem. Essentially, meta transactions plus some level of smart contract wallet allows you to bundle together any number of interactions. So whether it's you want to unwind your pickle position, stake into some kind of liquidity pool for Uniswap, and then stake that liquidity position back into another contract, you could do it all in a single transaction with meta transactions. Now there's sort of a question like why hasn't it been adopted yet? My theory is that it has a lot to do with it adds a lot of complexity to the developer experience to play with meta transactions. You have to make sure that you sign all the messages correctly. There isn't really good support on the SDK level for it. So if I can plug something I'm working on, this onboard.money thing is really about providing meta transaction as a easy to use component as you'd have for any Web3 app. I really see that as being required for using the kinds of applications that are sort of NFT types as well, that you don't necessarily have the level of sophistications for a lot of the users that need to use MetaMask and need to be familiar with all the different interactions. Meta transactions allows you to separate a lot of the security from the transaction execution, and provide some good distance between the two.
Is it okay if I ask a question?
Sure.
So my question is, what, in a hypothetical situation, if the Berlin hard fork in 3 to 6 months includes some sort of protocol support that is, mostly identical to how meta transactions work. Someone signs a transaction and then they have a relayer sponsor that transaction. What does that mean for you? And what does that mean for meta transactions in general? Like, is there so much inertia behind meta transactions at this point that it's unlikely that a protocol support would dethrone it? Or is that something that is going to be welcomed by developers?
I personally think it would be great to have it at the protocol level. I mean, one of the things that I've been waiting for years to see is just a simple RPC call for batching multiple transactions together and sending them to the network, potentially in some atomic way. And we still haven't seen that happening. So if there's some additional stuff that can be done lower down in the protocol for enabling it, it sounds great. Yeah, it remains to be seen though, if that ends up happening.
Yeah, I think I just saw yesterday batched meta transactions EFP 3005. So there's definitely still interest in this kind of thing. And like has been mentioned, it's a huge UI benefit to people who aren't super familiar with MetaMask if you can integrate this into your product. And actually, one of the sponsors for ETHOnline is the gas station network, which is one of the kind of main driving forces for this area of research. So we'll put some links in the Discord for meta transactions, what they are, how to use them, how to integrate them, and hopefully some people can end up including them in their hack idea. We're gonna keep moving to the Ether. I don't know if you have raised your hand, but if you want to unmute and tell us what you've been up to, what you're thinking about.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name is Madison. My title is MC Masher on the Ether, and we've created something that is sort of like a knowledge-based debate system, and we're very interested in trying to figure out how we can turn the XP earned on our platform into a non-transferable NFT representation of that reputation that can travel around with the user in their wallet, and then they can use that reputation to interact with other applications within the ecosystem. So there's only really been two examples that I found. There was ERC1238, which was from Nicola, who I think is from Protocol Labs. He was working on this back in 2018, and MakerDAO actually just released something with their badges. So I'm very interested in seeing what people think about this, and if there are people that want to collaborate.
Let me jump in and say, I think DXDAO may do something similar with their reputation in that their tokens, I'm pretty sure that they're non-transferable. So maybe you can look into that as well for some kind of inspiration or see how they did it. The idea of having a reputation that is non-transferable and that it can, that you can use in several different protocols is one that is extremely interesting to me. It's like, you have something in your account that represents, I don't know, your credit level maybe, or just all around saying that you're a human and not a bot or whatever. And then different protocols can use them to do several different things. Imagine, and this is now mixing it up with DeFi. Imagine somebody with a high reputation that maybe has to pay less interest on their loans because of, they have a high reputation, or they can borrow more against their collateral. I think this is still very unexplored, and looking forward to what you built.
Yeah, one question that comes to mind is, so it's non-transferable. What happens when you lose access to that wallet? Or does that not matter? Is there some sort of issuer affordance you have? Like POAP is the issuer of some NFTs that are related to some attendance. They can technically reissue POAPs. Is there anything like that for what you're thinking of, Madison?
So initially, yes. Our platform is looking at issuing that reputation. Ideally, though, over time, I think it can be just like if you lose your private keys, you lose access to your tokens, you most likely will have to lose your reputation. Because there's issues with civil attacks that can happen. There's workarounds, but if you can essentially have an easy way to port over or to replicate or to get that new reputation, that it introduces other problems.
I'll give you a hint, which I think is one that not many people have thought about when it comes to implementing identity, and especially the non-transferable nature of it, is it needs to have an expiry. If you don't have an expiry on your identity, then it's always going to be possible to transfer it. But if you say an identity is only valid for 30 days, and then you need to have some signer that reattests that you are who you say you are, then you get around the whole problem of losing your keys and whatnot. I think a lot of people are getting closer to this idea. If you look at some of the stuff that 3box is doing, for example, with sort of sign attestations and social attestations, it's getting closer. But there hasn't been that like very clean user experience of, hey, you know, I just need to check into this website once every 30 days to refresh my identity.
Great point.
Any other thoughts on identity or NFTs, non-transferable identity?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Taki, and I'm currently joining the ETHOnline for London. First, really thank you guys to help this great opportunity. I'm currently in a project that launched in a month ago, and that is related to NFT. We are trying to create a DK royalty. I mean, create an organization for the Web3 Commons and try to experiment the concept of the DK royalty, which is the author the artists can get royalty even after the second sales, so third sale, fourth sale, and fifth sale or something. So the artist or the people who upload the NFT or something can get their money even after the second sales, and trying to experiment whether it or not it works. Yeah, I'm just my already we are experimenting. I don't know what should I say. But yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I know of at least I think it's Rarible, which also does this, and there's probably a couple other NFT marketplaces that you know send a percentage back of the sale back to the original artist, and I think that's an amazing idea, and it's a perfect use case for NFTs plus open marketplaces and smart contracts, obviously. But this is perfect. How long have you been kind of thinking about this idea, or where did you start?
Actually, the member the Odyssey, he is also in the ETHOnline. Just is a person who come up with idea, and they are. I mean, is trying to realize that with the help of the Lexile and the Red Guild, and the concept, and yeah.
Okay.
And we are we are really just initiated the project. So I'm just looking for the people who are interested in us. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for the feedback. Good feedback. I mean, good.
Sure. Any other comments from people about art and NFTs relating back to the original artist, how royalties work, and all that?
I do think something that would be kind of interesting would be, I know you mentioned Rarible has artist royalties, and I'm not totally sure. I haven't looked at their smart contract code exactly how they work, but I don't believe it is like enforcing on any token transfer payment of royalties. I think it's just in their in their auction house. So I think it'd be interesting to have some ideas with NFT royalties where anytime there's a transfer event emitted, an artist would set some basic amount that had to be sent to them as like a royalty or something, because basically if I sell a piece of artwork on Rarible and I get 10% royalties, but then someone just starts selling it OTC to other people, I would lose that royalty. I think it'd be interesting to try to think of ways where we could almost like disable a black market where artists wouldn't get royalties, because I have to imagine that if this continues to grow, that'll pop up pretty quickly.
Of course.
Actually,
Goes without saying.
An NFT black market sounds extremely interesting.
Yeah, or make an NFT black market and force people to figure out how to do this. That's probably
Right.
the easier way to go about it.
Yeah, because if transfers, I didn't know that. I want to check that as well. You're saying that there's a chance that the royalties is only enforced at the UI level in Rarible? If
I know it's in the smart contract code, but I'm not sure it's in the token transfer. I think it might be like a setting for their exchange. I'm going to pull up their code right now to check because I'm curious.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was nuanced like that.
Yeah. But I think there are some interesting things that can come out of that. I know ever since there's been fees on token transfers and that kind of thing, there's been wrappers around it and and trying to find ways to circumvent that. So, wow.
Yeah, those are definitely the edge cases you got to think about in DeFi and just any open community, really. Somebody's going to find a way to get around it. Adrian, do you want to expand on what you put in the chat?
Sure. So if I understood correctly the conversation, basically creating another UI layer on top of Twitter, similar to what Maskbook did recently with the dollar signs. So if you have Maskbook installed on Twitter, and if you hover any dollar sign, you see this pop over with a nice little chart and links to Uniswap. Things like that around governance, especially links to threads, could be pretty interesting. Another idea, maybe like a good segue for governance aggregation. I think governance aggregation is a really interesting theme in general, since there's so much happening around that space. Something which is pretty simple, it's almost Web2-like, but just aggregating discourse forum API calls into like a nice little dashboard. Could be like a nice, easy idea for somebody entering the crypto space with a lot of Web2 experience, for example. Just throwing another idea out there.
Yeah, definitely. The Maskbook experiment was super interesting. It was kind of blowing up yesterday or the day before. If anybody isn't familiar, we'll throw a link down in the chat.
I see here fork of MetaMask that uses smart contract wallet defaults to storing A tokens. This is I would like to see. I don't know if this goes against what a hackathon should be, but I would like to see some teams, take the time to contribute to open source projects. MetaMask being one. There are a lot of things. If you just search MetaMask on Twitter, like 95% of the threads read like customer complaints. I know that I've been guilty of this in the past, but you can find a lot of improvement suggestions from people. Things like better gas management, being able to input any address. This is like, I would say, one of the most important ones. If you use smart wallets or proxies, then it is very difficult using MetaMask to see a dApps UI interact with that, because MetaMask, they force you to either connect a ledger or have the private key somehow, right, in order to be able to view a dApp. But there's nothing saying that you can just, browse, navigate as X user. So things like that, improvements to open source projects like MetaMask, they could also possibly be good project ideas. I don't know, Trent, if that works.
I'm totally on board with that idea. I feel like that could be an entire, separate hackathon where it's just people get in the competitive spirit of contributing back to these open source tools that everybody uses every single day, but might not put time to contribute back to. I think that'd be an amazing idea for a hackathon. And for sure, if you can find a way to build something or structure something, a hack around that, by all means, that would be amazing.
A question for you, Trent.
Sure.
What if a non-developer decides to do a UX research or like a design case study around MetaMask, like better UX warnings, maybe a better usage of gas? Would that be a project they could submit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so it depends on what your intent is. We'll take, if you've built something or put time and research into a project that you're passionate about, that's your project. That's what you built for the event. Sponsors may not consider it for prizes because it's not something that was built necessarily, and MetaMask isn't sponsoring the event. But there's by no means should you not pursue that if that's something that you're passionate about, because that's something that's also really necessary for the space to get better, is people that are willing to dig into those specific niche topics like UI and UX, not just necessarily build the same thing that somebody's already built. So that it is valuable to build this whole span of types of projects. Jacob, if you are still around, I see you've had your hand up for quite a while.
Hey guys, not really NFT related, but I just kind of want to throw this idea out there. So I was thinking about creating an incentivized balancer pool, a private one, so that the weights of the assets can actually be adjusted up and down. And then you would incentivize it by giving out some token of some kind, and people could use that token to vote on the weights of the assets in the balancer pool, like adjust them up and down. I'm not exactly sure how valuable it is. This morning I registered permanent loss.finance. I was thinking about calling them loss tokens and having it be like you put your pickle and your farm and like other questionable tokens in there, and then have people vote up and down the weights of, if you think your token's more valuable than pickle, you want the weight of pickle to be higher, right, than your token. It would sort of be this gamified thing. Not sure if anyone would actually use it or not, but I just thought it was kind of an interesting idea to have like a balancer pool that adjusts weights based on voting. Just throwing that out there. If anyone thinks it's interesting, hit me up on Discord.
First off, you mentioned farm and pickle, which are probably two of the only tokens that actually have a business model and are doing somewhat well. But the idea is good. Anything that's gamifiable. I know that I probably still have a couple of gems and noodles and sashimis, and I don't even want to know what Andy has in his wallet.
No one wants to know.
Hopefully you sold everything, or you never had any. I actually think it's a great idea. You can gamify that, and I don't know if it's gonna end up being just that, a game instead of something actually useful. But the good thing is you have a lot of time to come up with either an interesting use case, or if it ends up just being a food game. I still love those. They give you the dopamine high. They give you a rush. It's like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. No rug pulls, please. No pull to. Just disclaimers all around. I think it's still okay to have fun with this kind of thing. And there are whales who they don't mind. They enjoy moving large amount of tokens or LP tokens from one farm to another. And in the end, that's still providing a service. That there are casinos in real life for a reason. I think they're okay in our ecosystem too, as long as they're labeled as such, and people know what they're getting into.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I think it's a really good idea. I already have a bunch of ideas in my head of what could make that really cool. If you want to message me and ask for more, I could spend a lot of time talking about that already. I think it's really smart. I'd recommend following through on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, Jacob, do you have any like a doc that you could share here of where you've written out this
No, I
idea a
just
little
thought
bit?
of it this morning, but I'll put it in the Hack Ideas channel in Discord.
Yeah, definitely write it out a little bit more full, and we could see if anybody's interested. Are you working by yourself, or do you have a team?
Currently, yeah. So newbie Solidity dev here. So
Cool. It's the best place to start. Everybody starts there at one point. Yeah,
guys.
gamifying stuff is a really neat concept. I mean, markets are really just it's a financial game, right? And if you can pull elements of that into whatever you're building, it will make it that much more compelling, I think, to new users, to people who've been around a while. They'll recognize the value there. I think I had promised the next slot to Rohan. Rohan.
Hello.
Hey man, how's it going?
Hi, I'm Rohan. So I'm a final year undergrad in majoring in computer science, and just came across this hackathon. So yeah, decided to participate.
Cool.
So yeah, I've done pretty much, I would say, everything except for blockchain. I'm a complete newbie in this domain, and just straight out putting on my idea, it was something similar to like a decentralized Shopify. Something which I came across this protocol called the Origin protocol, and they basically have created a Shopify in which there are no middlemen involved, and you can basically it saves a lot of money for the end businessman who wants to set up their stores or something like that. So I want to build something similar. I want to like ask you guys what protocols would help me build a marketplace or some e-commerce store. What kind of protocols help me do that?
I will say that there's so much liquidity right now, or almost so much liquidity right now, that I would like to see an integration that would let me pay with any token. It's usually either DAI or ETH or USDC, which is totally fine, but maybe I have some obscure token that I've been meaning to get rid of, but I don't want to sell. And then I see something and it's like, oh, I would like to buy this. And I could check, you could have, you could use Uniswap or Balancer in the backend, or an aggregator to let me buy with any token that I want. And, transparently, you can swap it to the one that you want, or the one that the shop accepts. And it is transparent to both, and would be pretty cool.
Thanks a lot. So yeah, that's actually interesting to have like kind of a token agnostic payment platform that would actually take in anything.
Rohan, what have you looked into for, you said you're pretty fresh to developing. What sort of tutorials or educational resources have you looked into yet? Maybe we can suggest some more.
So currently I'm just at zero. I'm actually currently looking up for resources to just start off at. And
perfect.
Now that I like getting to know from you people, what would be the best place to just start off and get my hands dirty with blockchain?
Yeah, let's do a quick lightning round. Each of the people suggest where you started learning and what you would recommend today for somebody starting at zero. Adrian?
Sure. My initial experience was with Truffle. So Truffle Suite, I think, is a pretty nice package to get your heads around smart contracts initially in Web3. One thing that I would suggest more up to date is the builder. No, actually, also from Austin. He has this series of video tutorials. I'm trying to find ETH.build. That's it, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I I think this is a great resource to learn, also to try out in the sandbox, and to get a few links to other resources that you can use to build your hack.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Whoever wants to go next.
Yeah, I actually learned a lot of I started getting into Solidity back when crypto zombies was all the rage. RIP.
I think it's still. I think people still use crypto zombies. Like,
does it? I just tried to load the website and it wasn't loading for me.
Uh-oh.
Which is not promising.
Yeah, crypto zombie was a zombie for a while, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it won't load for me anymore. So honestly, I'm not sure how much helpful insight I could actually give you here. But
any
honestly, a lot of
current or like up-to-date replacements for crypto zombies that anybody's used recently?
I don't know what are you on cryptozombies.io? Because it is loading for me.
Oh yeah, it didn't load for me. That was what I tried to.
I got as far as getting to chapter 1. I'm posting in chat. Let me see if anybody else could get there.
You also have the ETHOnline.
Yes.
From opens up.
That's another good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to cryptozombies.io.
Yeah, it's working for me now too. I don't know, it must have just been something weird with my internet.
Cool. There's some good resources to start with. Scaffold.eth is another one from Austin. Somebody could link that as well.
This is pretty great.
Yeah, Scaffold.eth.
Right.
And there's another one from, I think it's Paul from Sablier, Create ETH app, which is like a template for Create React app, but
yeah,
probably also has a whole bunch of integrations already there. Just forking the YAM, the YAM Finance UI, the YAM v3 has a lot of improvements. I think there's maybe a little bit tiresome after all of the forks, but it is some nice piece of code as well.
Awesome. I'm just being reminded that I will have to copy out this chat and all the links that everybody's sharing here so we don't lose them. But I'll make sure to do that after this call and then bring it into the Discord. We are nearing the top of the hour, or sorry, I guess this would be the bottom of the hour. We can definitely keep going, but I want to make sure we don't hold the panelists too much longer. They've already given us an hour of their time, and we are very grateful for that. So if you got to drop, that's totally fine. Let me go through, let's see what I need to hit before we lose people. Okay, so if you're here in this session and you haven't fully applied, I would do that immediately. There's only a few days left where we'll still be accepting applications, and kickoff is Friday, so make sure to do that right away after we get off of this call. You may have gotten an acceptance email already, so check your spam, look around your email. If you haven't found anything, please just reach out to any of the ETH Global team members on Discord or Twitter, wherever you find us, please reach out. We want to make sure you get in. If you're trying to get teammates in, remember that each person has to apply individually. That's a really important part because there are individual profiles, not team profiles. You join a team after you apply. And then once you've received that acceptance, the only thing left to do is to stake. This is 0.06 Ether. It's about $20. And we just hold that as sort of a deposit for you to complete the event, and then you get it back once you submit at the end. And I think that's all the logistics I have to go over. Does anybody have to leave? Maybe we can go for a few more minutes.
No, I'm good. I have to be somewhere at 4, so I still have some time I can hang out.
All right, cool. Yeah, maybe we'll take a few more really quick. Ryan.
Hi, everybody. I've been loosely involved with Ethereum for some years. The only work I've done that you guys would recognize was I was the founder of Predictions Global, the Web2 Augur Market Explorer that was famous about 2 years ago. We didn't update it for Augur V2 because the new Augur web app does it itself. It just shows you the markets right away without a download. My idea for ETHOnline is Kickstarter for Ethereum, sort of sowing the seeds for a generalized assurance contract framework that could be used by developer customers that would fork it and modify for their own purposes. But then there would be a canonical sort of singleton deployment of the contracts that would have a pragmatically decentralized front end like Gitcoin, so that you have folks who could come and make campaigns, and there may be an affiliate fee system to promote campaigns. So really taking that GoFundMe and Kickstarter magic that's working in the Web 2 world and bringing it into Web 3. And one thing that piqued my interest was that Gitcoin recently said on Twitter that they think assurance contracts are complementary with the fundraising techniques they currently use. So they could see some Lego gluing there, where you would, for example, start with an insurance contract, and then if it tips, all the funds would funnel into a particular grant, or a round robin of grants. So that's really the vision we're looking to take the first baby steps towards. So myself, computer science background, full stack, React, front end, back end. I'd like to do the product management. Where I'd love to get some help is if anyone just wants to chat or has thoughts, that'd be very helpful. And then if you're interested to contribute, really looking for help on the web design side in terms of sort of CSS and being mobile friendly. And I'm a newbie Solidity developer, so I do intend to write and contribute to our smart contracts, but I'm pretty new there. So if anybody has experience there, I'd love some help. So yeah, Kickstarter for Ethereum. Been thinking about calling it ETHstarter, but yeah, if you have a name, send it over. Thanks.
I think that's a really good idea, and I have on my to-do.txt on my desktop, I have ETH starter. It's probably on the top 5, and every time I wonder why nobody is doing that, because first, it's a great idea. Second, it does most of what I said at the beginning, that you can grab a lot of Lego pieces that are there right now and come up with something good. Vitalik wrote about the ICOs last year or a while ago, and the tools are already there, not only for what you said, that, for example, if it reaches a tipping point, then only then the money actually moves to a smart contract. But once it moves, then it can, everybody who participated, that is essentially a DAO now, that they can vote on how to distribute the money. And it could be, okay, an initial payment for a few months to start building the product, and then putting in milestones. Let's say you put in the project and you say, okay, it's going to take me a year. So whatever you raise, maybe half or a third is given out instantaneously, and then the rest could be given out either monthly or once every 2-3 months. I love the idea. And even the name.
Thank you. I wrote down your ideas. Another aspect of this is that perhaps we can compete for some of the larger prizes from ETHOnline. So, for example, the at-risk funds escrowed in the assurance contracts could get yield from Aave or Yearn or someone else. We could just do a sort of an integration at that level, and that would qualify us at least for those categories.
Yeah, you could even utilize stuff like that kind of as a payment stream, where maybe you could even have some avenues where you don't even have to actually contribute money. You just contribute your yield, and you say, I want to use this product, and I'm happy to put up $10,000, and you get all the yield from that $10,000 on Aave loans or YUSD or something like that. I think there's a lot of different avenues you could take it. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, instead of making it a little more, making it complicated, where you have to deposit the base asset and then send it into Aave, you could just, like you said, Andy, deposit the A tokens or the Y tokens, and they're already yield bearing. Very cool.
Great ideas. All right, well, thanks, guys. Appreciate the time.
We're going to try to hit 2 more really quick. Again, being sensitive of people's time. Stefan already had a drop, so thank you, Stefan, if you're listening. we appreciate you coming on and sharing some ideas about meta transactions. We're going to go next to Gokul Alex, and then Vincenz Bueller.
Hi, thank you, Taran. Gokul here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was following Teku, Ethereum Teku client from Pegasus. The client is built on Java. I was thinking if I can do a prototype on Teku on stateless Ethereum, like implementing this is one idea I wanted to do if it is possible. I want to know if there is any reference implementations where people have tried a stateless Ethereum client on Teku. Second idea, I've seen how formal verification of deposit contract is done for the beacon chain. So on that line, I want to do something on deposit contract. Will it be useful for any of the exchanges like Loopring or so that's my second question. If I work on formal verification of deposit contract, will it serve any practical purpose for exchanges?
I think the deposit contract is already formally verified. What do you mean by?
That's
Sorry?
right. That's right. Yes. So I want to do something further on it. Will it be useful for exchanges if I work on deposit contract?
I think I'd have to see this written out a little bit because I don't know exactly where your head is at with the scope of the project.
Okay. And the second question is, will this formal verification be useful for stable coins and other use cases where where there is a lot of assumptions involved when we are dealing with the data, right? When you are dealing with I would like to know the scope of formal verification in DeFi projects. Like, will it be useful for stable coin contracts, or will it be useful for prediction markets where oracles are involved?
I'll let some of the developers who have worked with oracles talk about that.
Yeah, unless you already are very well versed in formal verification in the first place, I would highly recommend reconsidering because we do it at Maker and it's really hard. It's the most complex thing that I've ever done on Ethereum.
Yeah, and a question. Can I ask you to interrupt? Why have we chosen Daphne over? Already, I've seen runtime verification has done on Coke-based proofs, and I was just seeing a video on Daphne. Is there a advantage of Daphne over Coke?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm definitely not a formal verification expert.
Okay.
And at Maker, there is no use of Daphne. We the project uses K.
Oh, okay, nice.
So,
okay.
KVM in the backend.
KVM,
yeah.
Right. So could you please tell me, is there a practical business scope if we do formal verification for stable coins and prediction markets? Will it be useful for the industry?
One thing that I would like to see, yes, is some kind of market for this, a way to build a backend that takes bytecode, random bytecode, and runs it against a set of proofs, and so that you can ensure via formal verification, for example, that if I send a transaction to X contract and I give you the bytecode, that there won't be any state changes besides what I expect, right? For example, that my token balance increases by X or decreases by X, but that is all that is going to happen, for example. Yeah, I do think that there is a business case for it.
Thank you. Thank you. So, will there be any like benefit if we give is there possible to give formal verification of randomness? I got the point that we can give formal verification of bytecode, but is there a way we can give formal verification of randomness used in beacon chain or in delay functions?
You mean the VDFs?
Yeah, VDF.
From what I understand, that still is heavy in the research phase, so they might potentially find use for it. I don't know if my intuition tells me that the scope for a hackathon is probably too big for a formal verification project or something involving VDFs, but I'd definitely like to hear more about your deposit contract idea, because I think I understand it, but I just want to see it in writing before I respond.
Sure.
So send it on Discord.
Yeah, I'll send it. Can I ask? I think I forgot the Teku. Can somebody advise me what is the current engineering like roadmap for Teku, so that if I can give second attempt on Teku?
So this is another big project. Stateless Ethereum is it would be a pretty significant change to how clients are architected and the way state is passed around the network. So again, this might not be the best fit for a hackathon, but if you want to start a project, by all means, go ahead. I would have to refresh my memory on where the Teku team is with Stateless Ethereum. I know that I think Pegasus has some team or some team members that are working on it. So maybe I could poke around and try and find some resources for you, but definitely message me on Discord.
Thank you. We'll do that. I was thinking if I can containerize Teku, like using some of the Java concurrency based models. I can implement actor model and create microservices, breaking down Teku into individual components. I went through the GitHub repo of Teku. It's broken down, but not sure if Teku is made into a microservice level implementation. Seems like it is still a monolith. I'm not sure if my judgment may be wrong.
You may be right.
I'm not sure that we're the people that can answer that question.
Yeah. I would definitely, I'll try to link you up with some of the Teku maintainers and get you more information on that. But for now, we do have to wrap up this session. I know Vincenz, we promised you to go. If you could really, really quickly just summarize your idea, maybe we'll get a few thoughts on it.
Yeah, quick's fine. This panel's been pretty awesome, so I wanted to throw this in. So background on me, I'm an energy engineer by training, and for me, this is all about just building tools that can solve our problems on balancing out electric microgrids. And so for us, what's important is, building settlement on our back end that can operate based off real world data feed that's being fed in. And from my experience so far, the Oracle feed-in doesn't seem very secure. It seems like that's still broken, done project by project. But there's also firms that are entirely dedicated to Oracles. So my experience, one of my favorite products for building applications was the stuff that they're building at Play project, where you can actually visualize it and you can see on their Play editor sort of an IDE for connecting up different modules using lines. And that was something I really appreciated as someone building an app or a dApp for a real world application without having to build a whole development team. So I would like to see like an Oracle sandboxing interface that can handle organization around how oracles are plugged into smart contracts. It shows, methods for finding, for choosing, and then for using those oracles to feed into your back end of your dApp. I'm actually working also with someone right now who's trying to publish a book, and they want to tokenize, the access to publishing rights. So that would also be tracking, sales. So right now we're already just trying to do that, and that's for a crypto economic book that's being published to write about the stuff. So we decided to try it out and just test how oracles can be fed into this as well. And I think this is something where various projects could sort of work together and come to this once it's available, and offer feedback and curation efforts towards curating proper oracles a data feed that they've worked with before on so that people that come in later to build a dApp can gain that experience up ahead of time and actually see it in visualizations. The lines can have different thickness and different coloring according to risk associated with it, according to different elements of that data feed Oracle. So I think this could help to really standardize it for people that are building dApps that are not really familiar with feeding in data into a smart contract, that if that doesn't work out right, like that's going to be your weakest point of security. And for someone like us that's trying to balance out, you know, an electric microgrid, and there's settlements on the back, and if the settlements don't work anymore, then the grid goes down. We can't allow for that to happen. So we can't really move this onto a chain until that kind of thing is fixed.
Cool. Mariano, do you want to wrap the session with your response?
Yeah, sure. I would say I heard like almost, I think 4 different things: electrical grid, oracles, some kind of UI for composing almost Legos, and then even publishing platform. So I would say that for something like a hackathon, to try to whittle it down a little bit to something more manageable, if you can manage everything, that of course would be amazing. But from what I heard, I heard like 4 different industries almost, which of course can go together. But I don't know if you're maybe taking on a lot for, you know, 3 weeks.
It's not. We're not bringing the electric grid stuff into this. This is more something that, as we're building our projects, you know, that's what I work on in my day job. This is something that, if this tool were available, we would benefit from it. We know that other people that are trying to build things similar to us would benefit from it really greatly. Yeah, the publishing book also, you know, same category. This would be plugged into it. This is more an interface or a project that could be there, an app that you can do some sandboxing with Oracle data and different sources.
Oh, okay. So in that case, it would be mostly the plugging in Oracle data almost visually, like you said. Then in that case, I think it's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah, for me, it'd be important that there be, you know, contribution from both firms focused on Oracles and dApps that, you know, are a lot more built out, have teams that are a lot more built out that can contribute towards both curation, weighing of volatility and risk around that data. For me, that'd be more valuable even than the visualization. The visualization, you know, that's not a huge thing, I don't think.
Yeah, really quick, just to wrap up, I think you should check out, there's a couple no-code things that come to mind. The ETH.build sandbox, which Adrian linked in the chat, as well as there's a couple other ones. I think Gelato, I believe Gelato has some no-code elements. I might be thinking of a different one. But yeah, unfortunately, we do have to wrap here. We have the next session in a little bit more than 10 minutes. I want to thank everybody for coming, sharing their ideas, and just generally talking about the hackathon, what they're going to build, and especially to Mariano, Stefan, Andy, and Adrian. This has been a huge, really productive session, and I'm looking forward to what people do with these ideas that we've kind of workshopped here. And if you weren't able to share your idea or are still thinking of something that you'd like to pitch, put it into the Discord, into the Hack Ideas channel, and somebody will be sure to respond to you. One last thing to mention is that we do have the team formation call tomorrow at 2:30. So if you're looking for an additional teammate or a team to join, please make sure to join that session. We should be sending out the invites for that this afternoon sometime. All right. Thank you again. Huge thanks to the panelists. Looking forward to what people build.
Yep. Thank you. Good luck, everybody.